The children's tribe is a remote traditional community group Kat, on the border of Riau and Jambi provinces. The Dalam children's tribe, or commonly called the Orang Rimba, has a unique tradition that has been passed down from their ancestors, the tradition called Melangun. Waking up for the tribe of children in is going far. Stepped away from the hometown, eliminating sadness due to being left behind by relatives. Walking across a number of cities, sub-districts, districts, to the province, hoping that sadness after being abandoned by the family will disappear. Melunting until the heart is satisfied, until it disappears sadness, said suku, one of the tribes of children in between. This tradition must be followed by all families who were hit by misfortune. By walking, gratitude and family are able to go to Padang Panjang and Taluk Kuantan, which is hundreds of kilometers from where they live so far. Melunting can mean life wandering in the forest. The cause is due to the belief that death is caused by the disorder of evil spirits. Because it needs to be shunned so as not to interfere with human life. The movement of the residents was because it was considered the house he occupied began to bring bad luck. In addition, this tradition can also be interpreted as an embodiment of love for people who have died. The more love and affection for the person who is gone, the longer the activity will be, the longer the time to wake up, automatically the further distance to be traveled. If anyone died immediately buried, after that we immediately left that same day. In the past, it was indeed worth it for decades because it was considered a bad luck. But since the last few years, the tradition was carried out in a short time. This tradition begins with a lament by the family in front of the corpse. Crying, roaring, and throwing the body to the ground to its old benders, hoping that the lifted life will be returned to the corpse. Before the waking was done, the corpse that had been covered by the cloth was left above the sazungdungan. Sazungdungan is a shelter that is 2 times 2 meters in size and the roof of leaves or plastic, which height is 12 upstates from the ground. If for children, the height of 4 tiers from the ground. This cottage is given a base of small round wooden stems and given dry leaf roofs. When the tradition of waking is over, they begin to carry out their normal activities again, like farming, hunting, and fishing. The place is some distance from its original place, but always on the edge of the river, which is the source of their lives. It turns out that the more time, the tradition of Melangun has begun to be abandoned by the tribe children's Dalam community. Japaran said, various challenges faced well because modernization and environmental factors made this tradition began to disappear. In addition, they also have to fight the conservation of natural forests carried out by a number of companies. Forests, which are their life ecosystems, have turned into agricultural and plantation land. Those who were accustomed to running a nomadic life and lived on land and huts, some now have a permanent house. Starting the disappearance of the forest made this indigenous people experience a food crisis. The reason is, during this tradition of waking up they do not get a lot of food supply, their spare fields for sweet potatoes are not there. Indigenous peoples who rely on life from hunting and gathering, are vulnerable to losing culture because forest cover continues to run low. Life moves in the tradition of waking up, making jungle people vulnerable to illness because they have to adapt to new locations. The low awareness of posyandu and health checks for pregnant women and toddlers is also one of the triggers. The jungle also has their own tradition during childbirth. When a jungle woman who wants to give birth will be brought to the land of Perinaun, a special area for the maternity process of the jungle.